Hey folks, Jonathan here. Figured I'd show you what I've been up to here. I'm trying to get an engine changed in this SSR, and I sort of throw this in front of the track hoe because I just wanted to get it knocked out. And I had bought an engine for this. What happened was this the guy that owned this thing tried to drive it through some water. Lived in a gated community and it floods real bad, and it actually sucked some water up in the intake, which was completely at the front of the engine. And I thought that it had been a rod, but it actually broke a rod in it. So this thing came with a 5.3, but it was a fully aluminum block 5.3. It wasn't like the truck motors where, you know, cast iron block and aluminum heads. We've already got the engine in. This is a cast iron 5.3 out of a truck, and come out of a, I think it was a 2001 or 2002 truck. This is a 2004 vehicle. Now here is our old engine, which is the 5.3 aluminum block that came out of this. It's got 190,000 miles on it. And as you can see, there's the block. It actually broke the rod. And I don't know if you can see it, but the rod is hanging down. And so it just broke it off clean and busted part of the block. Luckily it didn't hurt the oil pan. It did stretch the gasket out, so I had to get a new gasket. You know, these gaskets are kind of just about, well, you can reuse them, let's put it that way. That happens a lot on these. They run a heavy metal gasket with just rubber on it. So most people reuse them. You can see where it bent it here, but didn't get the pan. And here's the windows tray. This is the pan off the pickup truck. Here's the windows tray out of it. See, it tore it up. So it was the same as the truck. Just had to change the pickup for the oil pump, change the oil pan. Okay folks, moving right along on this little project here. I've got everything on the bottom side done, got the wheels back on. I had to take the inner fender wells out to get to the bolts. This engine's a little bigger than what ought to be in this car, or this truck, I think. So anyway, just want to cover a couple of the differences between the cast iron block and the aluminum block. So if anybody has to do this same swap over, they'll know what they're going to run into. There's not much, I mean, I'll be honest with you, so far. But one thing for sure, you figured this engine came out of a truck, and I bought it already out, so I didn't have the bell housing bolts for it. Bell housing bolts for this aluminum block are a little bit longer. They'll bottom out, and they'll fight you trying to get in, and then you finally figure out what the deal is, and they're so hard to get to that. Now the bottom ones are the same because you're using your same oil pan, but there's 8 bolts total in the bell housing on this. There's 6 in the engine, 2 in the bell housing. So remember to go a little bit shorter with the bolts, or put a single lock washer on them is just about enough to take care of it. So finally got that figured out. Maybe you can see the oil filter is in the middle of the pan, and there's actually a hole that runs all the way through the pan. I've never seen that before on an LS motor, but you know, that's just the way they've done them. So everything is simple, it's just so tight. That's the problem with this thing. Stuff is hard to get to. The starter, I'd hate to think I had to change the starter. I actually unbolted the starter and left it in place, and then changed the engine and put it back in. I'm not sure. It would be a job to get it out, let's put it that way. I'm going to continue on this project here till we get it finished up. Shouldn't take too long. I mean, we've just got to do everything on top side. It'll probably be in the morning before I'm done, but you know, just back and forth between the heat and tows, record call stuff. So didn't change the cam. We're leaving the truck cam in. Probably, I mean, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I'm sure the cam that was in this aluminum 5.3 is more horsepower. I think it's something like 300 horse, but we're not looking for that. We just want it to run good. You know, the thing's so light, I don't think it's going to make a bit of difference anyway. We're going to run, we've got to run the intake and everything. The intake that was on the truck motor was had a throttle cable. Of course, the other ones were just had it's electronic. So, and normally I wouldn't want to do a job like this, and I didn't even really want to do this one, but I just did it because it needed to be done. But you know, sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do. But I wouldn't have minded this job if I was taking this out and maybe, you know, putting a V12 or something like that in it. But putting the same engine back in You know, even though we went from aluminum to a cast, it's still basically the same, you know, sort of aggravation. But I don't know. I like things that are different, and you know, just swapping stuff like this is too much like being a part swapper. You know, everything's plug and play. You know, everything plugs back in where you know used to be. It wasn't like that. It was a little bit different. And I know most of y'all understand what I'm talking about. But so anyway, we're going to keep at this, try to get her knocked out. All right. Okay, so we're moving right along with this engine swap. I've actually got it fired up and running. We're just trying to finish up a few small things on it, but I'll show you that in a few minutes. But I just wanted to show you something on these LS engines that is a common problem. And if anybody's ever changed one, they'll know this. They love to break exhaust bolts off. And as you can see, this one's broke off. And this is actually below the deck, probably 1/16 of an inch, maybe a little more. So that's going to have to be welded on, and then a washer welded on, and a nut welded on. And this is how that turns out, as you can see. And right here, that engine that we put in actually had 5 of these. And then not going to let me do a video, are you? It actually had 5 broken ones, and that's all 5 broken ones. And here's 5 failures. So you're not going to get it every time. Sometimes you're not going to be able to get in there to get them, but we got every one of them out. And in my opinion, these bolts are too small for exhaust. They should have been bigger. But the good part is when you weld to them, it gets a little heat on that aluminum. They come out really easy. So anyway, we got a new battery put in, and we're finishing up the heater hoses. These are really bad about breaking. You can see this one snapped off. This one didn't break, but I went on and popped it to get it apart. We're going to cut them. I put new ones on because I don't want to take a chance on them breaking later on. You know, going down the road or something on a trip. And so anyway, we're going to do that and force feed some water in this thing. Radiator's a lot lower than the engine, so it's going to be kind of tough. We're going to get her filled up one way or the other, and then we're going to take this thing for a test drive and see how it does. And I've still got stuff to put on the front here. And of course, this thing has an electric fan because, you know, there's no way that you could run a regular fan with it. The engine sits up so high, it's so big. But we'll get her together here shortly and take her down the road. All right. Well, sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're the bug. I should have changed these lines out. Little steel lines that run across for the water ports, and I didn't, and I've got one leaking. So now I got to pull the intake back off and replace them with the ones off the other engine, and then put it back together. So, lesson learned. Check them a little better. So anyway, let me get this back apart and see if we can knock it out pretty quick and get it back together. All right, folks, back together. We've got water in it, letting it run, warm up. The fan's on. That's why it sounds so loud. Try to get all the air blood out of this thing. I filled it up to the hoses first, so hopefully it took care of it. Okay, folks, I'm going to let you see what the top does on this thing. Some people may have seen them, some people may not have. Hillbilly convertible pickup truck. Okay, coming? Okay, folks, there you go. runs good, drives good. Got little issues we got to take care of. Know what issues it had before it was parked. But our speedometer's not working, but our transmission is shifting right, so that kind of puts it maybe in the dash itself. I'll tell you how the air intake is on the front. Okay, so here's the air intake right below this front panel above the grill. So if you're going to splash into water, that's exactly where it's going to go, and that's what happened. The guy tried to run it in a place where the water was too deep for that, for sure. Not a problem to change. Everything is pretty much the same, just little differences. Nothing that's going to be so aggravating that nobody can handle. But anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and tomorrow we're starting on the little excavator Traco, get the engine changed out and then get it done, and hopefully we get it knocked out. We're gonna get the hot rod, the Roadster pickup back up under here, and go ahead and get on the other side over here, get the frame for the T-bucket we're gonna put together. We've got everything to make the running gear right on it. So anyway, all right, appreciate everybody watching. Till next time, bye.